He told me, "My secretary's pregnant. We'll raise the child together." I smiled as I signed the divorce papers and sold every single one of our houses. A few years later, he was kneeling in my brand new office, begging me to take him back. I rested my hand on my slightly rounded belly, picked up the phone, and said, "Hello, husband? I think my ex got lost. My name is Ivy." The New Year's party was hosted by my husband Luke's company. I was the hostess. A lot of people were toasting me. I don't drink much, but I had to keep up appearances. Luke was across the room, discussing business with someone, not paying me any attention. Emily showed up again, holding a glass of champagne. "Have another drink, Ivy," she said with a sweet smile. She was Luke's new assistant, very young. I shook my head. She leaned closer. "Your face is so red, maybe you should touch up your makeup in the bathroom?" I was dizzy. She steadied me and guided me through the crowd. The bathroom was at the end of the hall. The lights were dim. The sign on the door read, "Out of order, no smoking." But it wasn't locked. Emily pushed me inside. "It's quiet in here," she said. I went into a stall, closed the door, and sat down, my head throbbing. Outside, I heard the flick of a lighter. Click. I smelled smoke. Then a faint hiss, like a cigarette being snuffed out. The next second, the alarm went off. A piercing siren tore through my ears. Red lights flashed. Panic surged. I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Someone was holding it from the outside. "Fire?" someone shouted. In the women's bathroom, Emily's panicked voice. "Oh my God. Ivy's still in there." I pounded on the door. "Open it. Let me out." No one opened it. Then the sprinkler overhead activated. Cold water poured down, drenching me instantly. My dress clung to my body. And then something worse happened. The wall along the hallway side was frosted glass. Normally, no one could see inside. But the cold water hit, and suddenly the glass turned transparent. Like magic, I was completely exposed. The hallway was packed with guests from the party, all holding up their phones to record. I screamed and crouched in the corner of the stall. But the panels were short. I could see their faces. They could see my shoulders and soaked hair. Someone whistled. "Guess what color her underwear is?" A man's voice shouted. Laughter erupted. I shivered all over, holding myself as the cold water kept pouring down. My nails dug into my skin. Then I saw Luke. He stood at the front of the crowd, staring at me through the glass. His face was icy. He didn't order the crowd to move, didn't grab anything to cover me, didn't rush in to help. He just stood there, watching. That's when I realized this wasn't an accident. It was planned. Emily stood next to him, covering her face as if crying, but through her fingers, her eyes were laughing. Rage surged through me, colder than the water. I stopped hiding. I stood up, my wet dress clinging to my body. More whistles rang out. I ignored them. I slammed the stall door. The obstruction holding it was removed, and the door swung open. I walked straight to the bathroom exit and pulled it open. The crowd went silent for a second. I was soaked, hair plastered to my face, makeup ruined, a mess. But I didn't care. I walked straight toward Emily. She still pretended to wipe tears from her cheeks. "Ivy, are you okay?" I was so worried, I didn't let her finish. I grabbed the front of her evening gown and yanked hard. Rip, the whole jacket-style dress tore off. Underneath, she wore only a thin slip, almost transparent. She screamed and hugged herself. The crowd went wild. Phones all pointed at her. Luke finally moved. He grabbed my wrist. "Are you crazy?" I looked him in the eye. "Who's crazy?" Emily crouched on the floor, crying. Luke draped his suit jacket over her, glaring at me. "Go back. Don't embarrass yourself here." I shook off his hand. "You're the one embarrassing yourself." I turned and walked barefoot across the wet floor back into the party hall. Behind me, whispers and camera clicks followed. I knew the whole social circle would hear about this tomorrow. But I wasn't afraid anymore, because the last time I looked at him, I saw Luke's eyes. Not angry, disgusted, completely disgusted, like looking at something dirty. A month passed. Luke didn't touch me. He slept in the study, came home late, spoke no more than 3 words. I pretended not to notice, still made breakfast, tidied the house, waited for him to come home. Until tonight. He walked into the bedroom holding a tablet, looking serious. We need to talk. I sat at my vanity, applying lotion. About what? That night on New Year's, he said, sitting at the end of the bed. I apologized to Emily on your behalf. She's generous. She didn't pursue it. I froze. You apologized for me? You pulled her dress down in public, almost exposing her. Shouldn't you apologize? I turned to him. She locked me in the bathroom. She triggered the alarm. The glass turning transparent, it was planned. Luke, can't you see that? He frowned. Emily said she accidentally dropped a cigarette into the trash. The glass turning clear was a manufacturer's accident. Can you stop thinking the worst of people? I laughed. Out loud. His face darkened. What's so funny? Funny that you're stupid, I said. He snapped up. Ivy, I've tolerated you long enough. That night, I was managing the situation. You didn't help. You made it worse. Do you know how hard I worked to keep it under control? Under control? I asked. How? He was silent for a few seconds. Then he said, I slept with Emily. The room went silent. I could hear my heartbeat. He continued, calmly, like he was reporting the weather. Just that night, after you went to your room, she lost control. I took her home. She cried for a long time. Then, it happened. He said it as if it were nothing. She's pregnant. 3 words. Like 3 knives. The doctor says 6 weeks. He added. The timing matches. I gripped the vanity for support. My legs wobbled. So? My voice was dry. So I'm going to be a father, he said, looking me in the eyes. You know what this means, Ivy. We've been married 5 years. You couldn't conceive. All the tests were done. It's your problem. Do you know how long my mom has been waiting for a grandchild? My throat tightened. Emily wants to keep the baby, he continued, his tone softening, almost patronizing. She also wants the child to call you mom. We can raise the baby together, publicly. We can say it's adopted or via surrogate. No one will know. I listened, word by word. You've always wanted a child, right? He stepped closer, reaching for my face. This works. You get a child. I get an heir. Emily gets money. Everyone's happy. I dodged his hand. Luke. Yeah, divorce. Let's divorce. He froze, like he didn't understand. What? Divorce. I said it clearly. You and I. We're done. You go on with Emily. Raise the child yourselves. I don't want a cent. Well, I'll take what's mine. But either way, it's over. His expression shifted from surprise to mockery. Divorce? Ivy, you're 33. Can't have kids. Don't work. And you've been living off me for 5 years. Who'd want you if we split? I nodded. Then what are you afraid of? He froze. Since I'm so terrible, leaving me should make you happy. I walked to the closet and started gathering my pajamas. I'll have the lawyer draft the agreement. You sign it, and we part cleanly. Are you serious? His voice went sharp. Absolutely serious. He stared at me for a long moment, then sneered. Fine. You want to play the reverse psychology game? I'll play, but don't regret it, Ivy. Once you sign, there's no turning back. I know. He slammed the door. The next morning, Luke sat across from me at the breakfast table, sipping coffee. Forget what you said last night, he muttered, flipping the newspaper. Emotions were high. I get it. I placed a plate with eggs in front of him. I've drafted the agreement. The electronic version is in your email. A printed copy is on the study desk. He put down his cup. Ivy, stop this. I wronged you with Emily. Yes, but the child is innocent. We need this child. You need this child too. I don't need it. Yes, you do. He slammed the table. Without a child, what are you worth? When my mom dies, you'll get nothing. With a child, at least the second half of your life has security. I wiped my hands. Luke, your mom doesn't like Emily. He froze. Your mom wants a bloodline grandchild. Emily's background is ordinary, and she's your assistant. Your mom will think she's using the child to climb socially. She'll make the child take a paternity test. Trace Emily's family tree 18 generations back. If she finds out the child isn't yours, the child is mine. He roared. Is it? I asked calmly. You so sure? His face darkened. I continued. Even if the child is yours, your mom won't let Emily in the house. She'll force you to give the child to me and send Emily away. Then, are you going to obey your mom or protect Emily? He said nothing. You won't protect her, I answered for him. You've never dared go against your mom. In the end, Emily either leaves with money or ruins everything. And you, Luke, are stuck in the middle, losing on both sides. He stared at me, like he was seeing me for the first time. So, I summarized. The best plan for you is to divorce me. Marry Emily. Raise the child alone. But you don't dare. Because your mom will cut your finances. You can't leave your mom's money. And you can't give up Emily's child. So you use me as a shield, let me raise the child. Make your mom happy. And you keep having your affair. 3 birds with 1 stone. Right? Veins bulged on his forehead. You think you're clever? Not clever, I said. Just not stupid. He stood, grabbed my wrist. Ivy, this marriage is not ending. Forget it. Do as I say. And you remain Mrs. Luke Hamilton. Otherwise what? I looked up at him. Kick me out? Dare you? This house is in my name. Remember? The wedding gift from your mom? His fingers tightened, squeezing my bones. What exactly do you want? Divorce. I repeated. Now. Immediately. He released me, stepped back, and laughed, a cold, sarcastic laugh. Fine. Divorce. But remember, you forced my hand. He stormed into the study. Minutes later, he returned with the printed agreement, flipped to the last page, signed it, and threw the pen on the floor. Satisfied? I bent down and picked up the pen. Next week, we finalize it. The lawyer will contact you. No need to wait until next week. He sneered. I'd rather go to court tomorrow. His phone rang. It was Emily. The moment he answered, his tone softened. Baby, don't cry. It's okay. It's taken care of. She agreed. Yes. We'll raise the child properly. Rest now. I love you. He walked out holding his phone, never looking at me again. I stared at his signature on the agreement, Luke Hamilton. So ugly. I folded the agreement and returned it to the folder. I started selling the houses. Luke and I had 12 properties together, all purchased during our marriage, some investments, some vacation homes, and 2 were gifts from him. Now, they were all merchandise. I contacted agents and listed them all, slightly below market price, cash only, fast closing. The agents were shocked. Mrs. Hamilton, these are prime locations. If you hold them, they'll appreciate more. I'm not waiting, I said. Sell fast. The first to sell was the seaside villa. Luke had proposed there. The buyers were a young couple, very sweet. On signing day, the woman rubbed her belly and said, "When our baby is born, we can come here in the summer." I smiled and signed. Money deposited. I opened a new account and transferred it all. The second was a downtown apartment. We had lived there for a year. Floor-to-ceiling windows with a river view. Luke once said, "When we're old, we'll live in a place like this, convenient." The buyer was a single female entrepreneur. Great view. Perfect for thinking, she said. I nodded. Thinking. Indeed. 1, 2, 3. Luke didn't notice. He was busy with Emily's doctor visits, his mom, and the company. He assumed I was in a cooling-off period, that I'd eventually beg to reconcile. Until that afternoon, he came home suddenly. I was in the study, organizing the last properties papers. He barged in, face dark. "Change. We're going to the hospital." "What's wrong?" "Emily is bleeding," he said, staring at me. "She says it's because of you." I frowned. "I haven't seen her in a month." "Did you text her last week? Threaten her?" "I didn't." He didn't believe me, grabbed my arm, and dragged me out. "Apologize to her in person. Promise not to harass her again, or this won't end." I struggled. "Luke, let go. I didn't do it." He was too strong, shoved me into the car, and drove like a maniac to the hospital. Emily was in a VIP room, pale, eyes red and swollen. She shrank back when she saw me, scared. Luke wrapped his arm around her shoulders. "Don't be afraid. I brought her here. Tell me." How did she bully you? Emily sobbed. She sent me texts, called me a slut, said the baby would be illegitimate. I even got an anonymous package with a bloody doll. Luke, I've been having nightmares. Yesterday my stomach hurt suddenly. Her crying was pitiful. Luke turned to glare at me. Anything to say for yourself? I stayed calm and looked at Emily. My phone's right here. Check it yourself. Look at the messages. Track the package, sender info. Call the police. If it was me, I'll admit it. Emily's eyes flickered for a split second. Why, you must have used another number, then check. I said, call the police. Pull the surveillance footage. I'll cooperate. Luke grew impatient. Ivy, is apologizing really that hard? Will saying sorry kill you? I didn't do it. Why should I apologize? Suddenly, Emily climbed out of bed, dropped to her knees, and grabbed my hand. Sister Ivy, I'm begging you, she sobbed. I don't want status or marriage. Once the baby's born, I'll give the child to you and leave immediately. Please don't hurt my baby, he's innocent. She was shaking as she cried. Luke's eyes turned red. Enough. Ivy. He raised his hand and slapped me hard across the face. The sound was sharp. My ears rang. My cheek burned. I steadied myself and didn't fall. Emily was still crying, but in the instant she lowered her head, I saw the corner of her mouth curve upward, just for a moment. But I caught it. I touched my cheek and looked at Luke. I'll remember this slap. He was breathing hard. Remember it. Sue me if you've got the guts. I turned to Emily. Are you sure the baby is Luke's? She froze. Shut up. Luke roared. I didn't. When the baby's born, we'll do a paternity test. I said slowly. If the child isn't Luke's, I'll repay today's slap tenfold. Emily's face went deathly pale. Not acting. She was genuinely scared. Luke didn't notice. He pointed at the door. Get out. I turned and left. At the doorway, I heard Emily whisper, Luke, what if she really asks for a paternity test? Ignore her. She's crazy. I smiled. Crazy? We'd see who really was. 3 days later, Emily called me. Her voice was weak. Sister Ivy, can we meet? I want to apologize. I was emotional that day. I wronged you. There's no need. I said, please. I'm at home, just the two of us. There are things I want to tell you in person. I stayed silent. About Luke. She lowered her voice. Things you should know. I agreed. Not out of curiosity, but to see what game she wanted to play next. Emily lived in an apartment Luke rented for her. Upscale complex. Tight security. I knocked. She opened the door. Wearing loungewear. No makeup. Looking exhausted. Come in. The apartment was neat. On the dining table was a fruit plate with a fruit knife resting in it. She poured me water. Sit. I sat. She sat across from me. First, I apologize for what happened at the hospital, she said, lowering her head. I shouldn't have lied. The texts and packages weren't sent by you. I waited, but I was forced. She looked up, eyes red. Luke, he doesn't actually want to marry me, he said after the baby's born. He'll give me money and make me leave. The child would go to you and him. I said nothing. I love him. She cried. I don't want to leave him. That's why I tried to force you into a divorce. I thought once you divorced, he'd marry me. You got what you wanted. I said, we're divorcing. But he changed his mind. She grabbed my hand. He said the cost of divorce is too high, his mom would be furious. He doesn't want to divorce anymore. He said you raising the child is enough. The marriage stays. I pulled my hand away. So you brought me here today to get my cooperation? No. She wiped her tears. I'm begging you, leave him. Completely. Go abroad. Anywhere. If you're gone, he'll give up and marry me. I laughed. Why would I? She bit her lip. Because I love him. Because I'm carrying his child. So what? I stood up. Your problems are yours to solve. I have no obligation to step aside for your love story. I walked toward the door. Ivy, she shouted. I turned around. She was holding the fruit knife. I froze. If you don't agree, her voice trembled. I'll hurt myself. And then I'll tell Luke you stabbed me. I sneered. You think he'd believe that? He will. Her eyes suddenly turned cold. Because you'll touch this knife. She rushed at me. I backed up. She grabbed my hand, shoved the handle into my palm, then forced my hand toward her own stomach. I struggled desperately, but she was strong. The knife tip sliced her clothes. Blood seeped through her skin. She screamed, "Help! Ivy's trying to kill me. Save my baby!" The door burst open. Luke charged in. What he saw was this: me holding the knife, blood on the tip, Emily clutching her stomach, collapsing, blood leaking through her fingers. "Ivy, you've lost your mind," he bellowed, and kicked me hard in the stomach. I flew backward, the back of my head smashing into the corner of the coffee table. Blinding pain. Darkness washed over my vision. I heard Emily crying, Luke shouting, then his footsteps as he carried her out. The door slammed shut. Silence. I lay on the floor. The back of my head felt wet. I touched it. My hand came back covered in blood. My vision blurred. I pulled out my phone and called emergency services. "I need an ambulance," the address is, after giving the address. I passed out. The last thought in my mind was, that knife had only my fingerprints on it. I woke up in the hospital. Stitches in the back of my head. A mild concussion. The police were there. Luke was too. I tried to speak, but my head was spinning. An officer asked, "Mrs. Hamilton, did you stab Emily Green?" Luke cut in immediately. "Yes, she did. I saw it with my own eyes. My wife is emotionally unstable and violent." The officer looked at me. "Your statement?" I opened my mouth, my voice hoarse. She grabbed my hand herself. "She's lying." Luke interrupted. "Officer, she threatened Emily before, said she'd demand a paternity test to make her miscarry. I have a recording." He played an audio clip. My voice came out of the phone. "When the baby's born, we'll do a paternity test. If the child isn't Luke's, I'll repay today's slap tenfold." The first half was cut off. Only the threat remained. The officer frowned. "She's been bullying Emily for a long time." Luke continued. "Threatening texts. Terror packages. Emily almost miscarried, all because of her." I shook my head. I didn't, but the look in the officer's eyes had already changed. "Focus on recovery for now," the officer said. "The injured party is stable, and the fetus was saved. We'll take formal statements once everyone has calmed down." They left. Luke closed the door and walked to my bedside. "You really think calling the police will help?" he said, lowering his voice. "Emily's already remembered more details. She claims you planned to kill her. There are knives and gloves at your house. The cops will find them soon enough." I stared at him. "And what exactly do you want?" "Drop the charges. Sign a statement saying it was accidental, that you were under mental stress." He leaned closer. "Then behave and stay home. Or else I commit you to a psychiatric hospital." He smiled. "Violent tendencies, delusions, dangerous to others, plenty to keep you locked up for life." A chill ran through me. "And the divorce agreement?" I asked. "Cancelled," he said, standing straight. "No divorce. You'll always be my wife, Mrs. Hamilton, but only in name. In reality, you're under house arrest. Until the baby's born. Until my mom accepts it." He took my phone. "Rest. We'll handle discharge tomorrow." The next day, he really did take me out of the hospital, but not home. The car drove for a long time and stopped in front of a secluded villa in the countryside. Trees all around. "You'll live here from now on," he said, pulling me out of the car. "The housekeeper will take care of you and watch you. Don't think of running. No phone, no car, no cash. You can't get away." He pushed me inside. The housekeeper, a middle-aged woman, expressionless, said, "Madam, your room is upstairs." I went up. The room was clean, but the windows had security bars. The door could be locked from the outside. Luke called from downstairs, "I'll visit once a week. Reflect properly." Then he left. I sat on the bed, listening to the car engine fade away. For the first time, I felt true fear. My vision kept worsening. The doctor said intracranial bleeding was pressing on my optic nerve. I needed surgery, but Luke wouldn't allow it. "It will heal slowly," he said every week when he visited. "Don't worry." I sat by the window, only able to make out blurred shapes of light. "Luke, please let me go." I pleaded for the 100th time. "I don't want anything. I'll disappear forever." He stroked my head, like I was a pet. No, Ivy. If you leave, my mom will ask questions. You stay here until the baby's born, until everything stabilizes. And then? I turned, trying to see his face. Kill me? He laughed. How could I? You're my wife. I'll take care of you for life. Here, good food, good bed, nothing to worry about. Isn't that nice? Did Emily agree to this? She? His voice was disdainful. She's just a tool to have a baby. Once it's here, she's useless. I froze. You think I love her? He sneered. I only needed a child. You couldn't give me one. So I got her. Young, easy to control, good genes. But she loves you. All the better, he said casually. If she loves me, she obeys. After the baby is born, she gets some money and leaves. The child is yours to raise. To my mom, we'll say it was via surrogacy. Perfect. My stomach churned. You've never loved anyone, have you? He was silent for a moment. Love isn't important, Ivy. Power and profit are. We married because your family had money and could help me start out. Now your family is gone. You can't bear a child. All you're worth is being my nominal wife, keeping my mom happy. He stood. So, stop making trouble. Stay quiet. When the baby's born, I'll take care of you, just like before. Like before? Was that supposed to be comforting? A joke? I laughed, out loud. What's so funny? Funny that you're pathetic. I said, Luke, you've spent your whole life trying to please your mom, scheming against everyone. Have you ever had genuine love? Emily may love you, but you only wanted to use her. I loved you once, too, but look at me now, trapped here. His face darkened. At least I got what I wanted. And you? What do you have? I have freedom, I said, and soon I'll have it completely. Freedom? He leaned down, gripping my chin. Here, I am your freedom. He let go and walked to the door. Oh, by the way, the divorce papers are gone. We're not divorcing. Never. He closed the door. The lock clicked. I sat in darkness, eyes hurting, head aching, heart aching. Suddenly, a bitter taste in my throat. I spat out a mouthful of blood. It splattered on the floor, deep red. I stared blankly. Then I laughed. Laughing, I spat again. The housekeeper came in with food, saw the blood, and screamed. I collapsed backward, consciousness fading. When I woke, I was in a hospital, a high-end private hospital. Not Luke who brought me. By the bedside sat Margaret Hamilton, my mother-in-law, over 70, silver hair, tailored suit, expression stern. Awake? Her voice was icy. I blinked, vision still blurry, but I could recognize her. Mom, don't call me that. She interrupted. Luke told me you were sick at home, resting. But I checked, you are locked in a countryside villa, vomiting blood and unconscious. What happened? I summarized everything, from the New Year's party to the confinement. She was silent for a long time. Then she asked, That Emily, the baby really Luke's? He said so. I answered. He said so? Margaret scoffed. I know my son. Dumb. Easy to be fooled by women, but to scheme against the Hamiltons like this, he's gutsy. She rang for the doctor. How's she doing? Doctor, intracranial bleeding requires surgery. Delay risks permanent blindness. Also, severe malnutrition. Gastrointestinal bleeding. Margaret nodded. Arrange surgery. The best doctor available. Doctor left. Margaret turned to me. After surgery, what will you do? I stayed silent. I can help you, she said. Get Luke to divorce properly. Kick Emily out. And let you raise the child. You'll be the only Mrs. Hamilton. I shook my head. No, I want a divorce, I said clearly. Completely free of Luke. Free of the Hamiltons. Do you know what that means? Without our protection, you're nothing. Then I'll be nothing, I said. But at least I'll be free. Margaret studied me for a long time. Do you hate Luke? No, I said honestly. I just don't love him. I'm done pretending. She actually smiled. Good. I'll help you divorce. But one condition. What? This must not damage the Hamilton family's reputation. Her eyes sharp. Luke's affair. Imprisoning you, that's scandalous. Bad for our family's name. You want me to shut up? Not just that. She leaned closer. I want you to disappear. I froze. Fake death, she said calmly. After the surgery, I'll give you a new identity and send you abroad. Publicly, you'll be declared dead. Luke's disgrace disappears with your death. He remains single, free to marry, though not someone like Emily. My heart pounded. And the divorce? Death automatically ends a marriage. She smiled. Cleaner. I thought. Fake death. New identity. Abroad. Gone forever. Sounds perfect. I agree, I said. Margaret nodded. Smart. I'll handle everything. You just focus on recovering. She stood up. Ivy. I'm sorry, she said softly, for my son's actions. I didn't respond. She left. 2 days later, I had surgery. It went perfectly. My vision gradually returned. A week later, Margaret brought me a new passport, ID, and bank cards. The private jet leaves tonight. Destination, Switzerland. There's a house there. A trust fund, enough for you to live comfortably. Thank you. No thanks necessary. This is a transaction, she said, looking at me. Remember, Ivy Hamilton is dead. You are someone else now. Never come back. I understand. That night, they wheeled me onto the private jet. As we took off, I watched the city lights shrink beneath me. Goodbye, Luke. Goodbye. Past. 3 days later, the Hamilton family released an obituary. Ivy Hamilton, age 33, passed away yesterday due to a sudden brain condition. Medical treatment was unsuccessful. It included a photo of me, smiling softly. Innocent. The news spread quickly. The social circle was shocked. Luke received a call from his mother while accompanying Emily to a prenatal checkup. Ivy's dead? He asked. Stunned. When did this happen? Why didn't anyone tell me? Margaret's voice was calm. What use is telling you? You're busy with the baby. I handled the rest. The funeral is next week. But, there's no but. She hung up. Luke held the phone. Frozen. Emily timidly asked, What's wrong? Ivy, she's dead. Her eyes lit up, then quickly masked it with grief. Oh my, how could this? Luke, don't be too upset. Luke didn't respond. Inside, he felt a jumble of emotions. Sadness? Perhaps. But more than anything, confusion, like something he'd been holding tightly had suddenly shattered. He drove home. Our home. Empty. My things were there, but the person was gone. He sat on the sofa all night. The next day, he received a call from the hospital. Mr. Hamilton. Miss Emily was hit by a car and is in critical condition. Luke raced to the hospital. Emily was in the OR. The baby didn't survive. The doctor shook his head. The impact was severe. She miscarried. She has pelvic fractures. She may have trouble conceiving in the future. Luke's head went numb. The baby was gone. His only heir, gone. He tore at his hair, kicked the wall. The nurses kept their distance. Then he noticed a few orderlies pushing a body bag toward the elevator at the end of the hallway. The zipper was slightly open. A lock of hair peeked out. Golden. Long. Just like Ivy's hair. Luke froze. He ran over. Wait! The orderlies stopped. Who's in here? Unidentified. One said. Died in the accident. No ID. Luke stared at the hair. His pulse raced. He reached out and pulled the zipper. A woman's face appeared. Pale, but the features, so familiar. Very familiar. Luke froze. He trembled as he touched her face. Cold. Ivy, he whispered. The orderlies exchanged glances. Sir, do you know her? Luke didn't answer. He knelt, clutched the body, and wept like a child. From a distance, Margaret stood in the corner, watching. She raised her phone and dialed. He believes it. Proceed with the next step. Luke took the body home and held a funeral. Small, just family and a few friends. Emily was still hospitalized and didn't attend. During the funeral, Luke stared at the coffin, vacant eyes. Margaret approached and handed him a document. Look at this. Luke mechanically took it. A medical report. His medical report. On the last page, the diagnosis read azoospermia, congenital. He stared for a long time, as if it made no sense. What does this mean? It means you can't have children. Margaret said calmly. Emily's baby isn't yours. Luke's hands shook. That's impossible, we had scans. The doctor said the baby was healthy. Yes, but not yours. She handed him another report. Paternity test. I used your hair and the miscarriage tissue. No biological relation. Luke's eyes locked on the line, biological father excluded. Everything went black. Then, whose is it? Who knows? Margaret sneered. Maybe her ex. Maybe anyone. Bottom line, she deceived you. Luke remembered Emily crying, saying I love you. Remembered the fights he had with Ivy and her over this. Nausea rose. He rushed to the restroom and vomited. When he came out, eyes red, he said, I need to ask her. Go ahead. Margaret nodded. But I suggest you watch this first. She turned on a tablet. A video of Emily meeting another man in a cafe. He handed her an envelope. She smiled and took it. The audio was clear. Man, this is the last payment. Contact me when you're pregnant next. Emily, don't worry. Luke is easy to fool. Once the baby's born, I get a big share. Luke felt blood run cold. Next, a recording of Emily on the phone with a friend. The Hamiltons are rich, but the old lady is sharp. I need to hurry. Once the baby is born and I get the money, I'm out. Then footage of her sending the threat package to me, her own doing, wearing a hat and mask, but her figure unmistakable. Bank statements showing multiple suspicious deposits. The evidence chain was airtight. Luke slumped in the chair. She was acting the whole time, he muttered. And what I did to Ivy. Margaret looked at him. You had it coming. When Luke arrived at the hospital, Emily had just finished surgery. Lying in the bed, she saw him and immediately began crying. Luke, our baby, it's gone. I'm so sad. He walked over and stood at the bedside. Whose baby is it? Emily froze. What? I asked. Whose baby is it? His voice was cold. Yours, she said nervously. Why are you asking? Luke threw the paternity report in her face. Explain. Emily picked it up, her face draining of color. This is fake. Someone's framing me. Is the video fake too? The recordings? The bank statements? Luke leaned down, grabbing her wrist. Tell me, who sent you? Emily screamed in pain. Let go! Luke, I love you. I really love you. Love? Luke shoved her off, then slapped her hard across the face. Hard enough that blood trickled from her lip. You loved my money, he growled. Faking pregnancy, framing Ivy, staging the accident, it was all for money, wasn't it? Emily covered her face, eyes filled with resentment. Yes, it was all for money. The Hamiltons are rich, so what if I wanted a cut? Your mother looks down on me, and you only see me as a baby-making tool. Why can't I think for myself? Luke stared at her like she was garbage. That man, who is he? My ex, Emily said. Giving up. We planned it together. Get pregnant. Extort some money. Fake a miscarriage. Then claim compensation for emotional damage. Everything was set, until the accident happened. She broke down. The baby's gone. I can't have kids anymore. I've lost everything, Luke smiled. A cold, unsettling smile. You're still alive. Emily panicked. What are you going to do? Killing is illegal. I'm not going to kill you, Luke said, straightening up. But I guarantee the rest of your life will be worse than death. He pressed the intercom and called the bodyguards. Transfer her to the public psychiatric ward. Diagnosis, delusional with violent tendencies. No release without my permission. Emily screamed. No! Luke, I was wrong. Please don't. The guards covered her mouth and dragged her away. Luke stood there, staring at the empty hospital bed. Suddenly, he felt exhausted. He walked back to the car and instinctively reached for his phone. Then he remembered, I was dead. He covered his face. His shoulders shook. 2 weeks later, my funeral was public. This time, a crowd came. The media, too. My parents flew in from abroad. They were old and wept bitterly. My brother, James, eyes red, spotted Luke and charged forward, throwing a punch. You bastard! How did my sister die? Tell me. Luke didn't fight back. Blood on his lip. It's my fault. James swung again, but Margaret stopped him. That's enough. Today is Ivy's funeral. Don't make a scene. The ceremony was grand. The coffin held the unidentified woman, dressed as me. Luke stayed silent the whole time. He stared at the coffin as if he'd lost his soul. When the ceremony ended and the crowd dispersed, he didn't leave. He sat at the graveside, whispering, "I'm sorry, Ivy. I'm so sorry." He stayed there all night. The next morning, Margaret arrived. "Go home," she said. "Mom." Luke looked up, eyes swollen and red. "I dreamed of her. She said she hated me." Margaret said nothing. "I really loved her." Luke's voice cracked. "But later, I forgot." "Now you remember, it's too late." "I know," he said bitterly. "So I'll atone. Never remarry. I'll spend the rest of my life here, guarding her grave." Margaret studied him, her expression unreadable. "Do as you wish." She walked a few steps, then paused and looked back. "Luke." If Ivy hadn't died, what would you have done?" Luke froze, then shook his head. "There's no if." Margaret said no more. She got in her car and dialed a number. "He's about to break." "That's enough." On the other end, I stood on the balcony in Switzerland, looking at the snow-capped mountains. "Any regrets?" Margaret asked. "No regrets." "Good." She paused. "Take care, Ivy." "You too," I said. I hung up and took a deep breath of crisp, cold air. Freedom. I spent a year in Switzerland. My vision fully recovered. My body healed. Margaret's trust fund allowed me to attend business school. I studied investment and management. I had always had a knack for business. But for Luke, I had abandoned it. Now, I reclaimed it and quickly excelled. After graduation, I joined a private equity firm as an analyst. A year later, I was promoted to investment manager. I went by my new name, Vivian Lee. No one knew I was Ivy Hamilton. I invested in several tech startups and achieved high returns. My name began to circulate in the industry. At an international investment forum, I ran into someone I knew. He stared at me for a long time. "You look like someone I know." "Who?" I asked. "My friend's wife, but she passed away." I smiled. "People do look alike." He didn't pursue it further. I built my own circle, new friends, new colleagues, a new life. Sometimes I dreamed of the past, but upon waking, there was no sorrow, only peace. 2 years later, I moved to a larger fund as a partner. 7-figure salary, own house, own car, savings, no one to rely on. On my birthday, I climbed a mountain alone, standing at the summit, watching the sunrise. The wind on my face felt perfect. I whispered to myself, "Happy birthday, Vivian." A year later, in my Zurich office, my secretary said someone was here to see me. "A Mr. Hamilton. He says he knew you." My heart skipped. "Have him wait." I finished my meeting, then entered the reception room. Luke was sitting there. He looked thin, some gray in his hair, wearing a suit, eyes hollow. Seeing me, he rose, lips trembling. "Ivy, it's really you?" I closed the door. "I'm Vivian Lee, Mr. Hamilton. You've got the wrong person." "No," he said, stepping closer. "Your eyes, your voice, you are Ivy. You didn't die." I met his gaze calmly. "Even if I were, so what?" His eyes filled with tears. "I was wrong, Ivy. I was completely wrong. These past 3 years, I've regretted every day. I've spoken to your grave, revisited our places." I almost went mad. He knelt, grabbing my hands. I pulled away. "Luke, I'm married." He froze. "What?" "I'm married," I repeated. 3 months ago. My husband is German, works in medical devices. We love each other." Luke went pale. "Impossible. How can you? Why not?" I smiled. "Legally, Ivy Hamilton is dead. I'm Vivian Lee. I'm single. I have the right to marry." He shook his head, unable to accept it. At that moment, the door opened. My husband, Max, walked in, tall, gentle, holding a thermos. "My love, don't forget your medicine," he said, noticing Luke and nodding politely. "Who is this?" "My ex," I said simply. Max raised an eyebrow but didn't ask further. He came over and gently touched my slightly rounded belly. "How's the baby today?" Very good, I said, linking arms with him. Luke's eyes went wide. You're pregnant? Yes, I said. 5 months. Twins. He stepped back, stunned. You're carrying someone else's children, he muttered. Our children, you said you couldn't get pregnant before, that was your problem, Luke, I said softly. You're infertile, remember? Not my problem. He covered his face and cried, crying like his heart was being torn out. Max held my shoulder. Do you want me to ask him to leave? No, I said, looking at Luke. He'll leave on his own. Luke slowly lowered his hands, looking from me to Max, then down at my belly. He turned and staggered out. His back looked broken. Max closed the door. You okay? Very, I said, leaning into his arms. Never felt this good before. Outside, Luke stood on the street, looking up at the building. Then he crouched down, burying his head, crying. Passers-by avoided him, as if he were a madman. The twins were born, a boy and a girl. I named them Anning and Anren, meaning peace and tranquility. Max is a wonderful father. He changes diapers, feeds them, rocks them to sleep in the middle of the night. His parents flew in from Germany to help. We live in a small town by Lake Zurich. The house isn't large, but it's cozy. The garden is full of flowers. In the summer, the kids crawl on the grass. Occasionally, I think of Luke. I heard he closed his company, moved to the countryside, stopped socializing, rarely goes out. Margaret occasionally emails me. She says Luke's mental state is poor and he keeps saying he dreams of me. He deserves it. She wrote, no need to pity him. I don't pity him. I just sometimes marvel at fate. I once thought I'd spend my whole life with him. I once thought love was patience, was sacrifice. Later, I realized love is respect. It's freedom. It's a mutual journey, not a one-way imprisonment. On Anning's first birthday, we held a small party. Friends came. The garden was full of balloons. Max held Anning to blow out the candles. Anren babbled in my arms. The sunlight was warm. I suddenly remembered the day I married Luke. Many years ago. It was also sunny. I wore a white dress, thinking it was the start of happiness. Now I know happiness isn't a starting point. Happiness is every present moment. It's the laughter of children, the embrace of a husband, your own career, your inner peace. At the end of the party, Max asked, happy today? Very happy, I said. He kissed my forehead. Good. That night, after the kids slept, I sat in the study and opened my laptop. I received an email from an unknown sender. From Luke. The message had only one line, wishing you a happy life. Without me. I stared for a few seconds, then deleted it. I closed the laptop and left the study. Max was in the living room watching a game. He patted the couch beside him. Come. I sat down and leaned on his shoulder. A goal was scored on TV, the crowd cheering loudly. Outside, the moon shone bright. The rest of life stretches long ahead, but it no longer has anything to do with him.